If you have a true scary story you'd like to share with the old channel here, consider going to astheravendreams.com and clicking the button to send it my way. And of course, thank you. Well, I'm not sure what exactly this would fall under. I'm very skeptical of the Matrix hypothesis, but I do believe in the possibility of alternate universes. I've heard many people describe my situation as a form of quantum immortality as well, but that doesn't seem to fit right either. Here's my situation. I've seen my own death more times than I can count. The first and most frequent was when I lived in Federal Way, Washington. I didn't drive at the time and I was walking to work. Suddenly, a garbage truck comes around the corner where I'm waiting to cross the street and drives by a little faster than it should be going. Nothing actually happened to me. However, the second the truck was past me, I suddenly had the memory and a slight physical sensation of the truck taking the corner way too fast and falling over sideways, and crushing me. It scared the crap out of me, and that particular scenario happened enough times to give me a phobia of garbage trucks. However, there have been more scenarios than that. One time I was exiting the store that I was working at early in the morning, and a plane fell out of the sky crashing into the store from above. 3 days before Christmas. Another couple of times, my husband and I were on the bus to Seattle, and on the freeway, the driver had a heart attack and would either drive us into oncoming traffic or over the edge of a cliff. But every time this happens, I don't ever actually see it happening, like a lot of the people who claim the quantum immortality theory. It's almost as if a different version of me has died and their final memories get uploaded to my brain seconds after they die. For a while, the occurrences were happening very frequently. It was freaking me out. But they seem to have subsided a bit in the last few years, and I'm not sure if I'm just not dying as much, or if my connection to the other me's has gotten weaker. I've tried explaining this to my family and friends, and I'm sure they think I'm either making it up, or I've got something seriously wrong with me mentally. But thought the listeners here would understand what I'm going through. I'm not one for superstition. I have a pretty bad memory, so I'll often get details mixed up, get corrected, and move on with my life. So for me to be here, I have to be completely convinced that I'm right, and a detail has absolutely changed. No question about it. I've never been one for music or instruments. I have no talent for it, no ear for it. I don't enjoy it. I've tried some stuff, but nothing stuck. I did, however, try to learn the piano, and that didn't stick either. But I did it enough, and messed around with pianos in general enough that I know which side is high-pitched and which side is low-pitched. My sister has been learning piano lately. A few weeks ago, she showed me a song that she learned. Something seemed off with the keys, but I brushed it off and assumed I was just unfamiliar with the black keys, since I never got that far in learning. That night, she did something with the white keys for our parents. I was in the room, and that's when I actually paid attention. The low side of the piano was on the right. In my memory, piano keys go high to low, left to right. I asked my dad why the piano keys were switched, and he and my mom looked at me like I was crazy. They said I had failed and that the keys had always been low to high. There's no way in hell I would misremember a detail like that. Absolutely no way. I'm not thinking of a xylophone or anything. I've run through it in my head so many times. High was always left. I wish I was making this up, but I even texted a couple of friends about it because I was so freaked out. When I try to remember myself playing piano, it's right in my memory, but the memories are fuzzy, and I feel weird trying to think about it. I don't have the same feeling trying to recall other memories. I think it happened when I was cleaning upstairs. I wiped down a window, looked downstairs, and almost pissed myself because my front door was in the wrong place. It was just a reflection from a new mirror my family had gotten, but I was staring at it way too long before I realized it was a reflection. The reflected floor and walls lined up perfectly with the real ones. I went down and touched the mirror and it felt normal, but after that is when I noticed the piano. And I've never felt so disoriented by a mirror before. I don't know if the mirror was the cause, or the angle at which I saw it, or if the piano is the thing that changed, because it was in the room that belonged to the window I was cleaning. I don't know, but it's freaking me out. The damn piano changed, and this is one thing I know that I didn't remember wrong. It's not Mandela, I'm not superstitious. I don't think the heart or kidneys moved places, and I don't think it's ridiculous that I misremembered Berenstain instead of Berenstain. If anyone knows what's up, feel free to share. Everything is similar enough, and I don't feel like I need to get back. I just want to know if anyone has felt anything like this, or if anyone remembers the pianos like I do. As a side note, I sometimes get a weird vertigo feeling when I walk into certain places, even if I've been there before, like something is urging me to get out. I recently went into one of my house's bathrooms and felt it. I don't know if that's a universe thing or a spirit thing, and it doesn't seem to affect anything else, but I thought I would mention it. So, my wife and I work in the same building, which is great, because we often walk to work together. This morning we left the house, and my wife realized, as we passed by the doctor's office, that she forgot she had a doctor's appointment. So, she stopped off there and I continued on to work. Nothing crazy. It's the same walk I take every morning. A straight shot down the main street until you reach downtown. I noticed a familiar face in the distance. An old Italian man who would routinely sit outside of his apartment on the main street to say his hellos to neighborhood commuters. I guess something to just keep him busy. I always looked forward to his good mornings. But, see, this guy died a couple of months ago. So I crossed the street and convinced myself it was just a lookalike. Almost simultaneously, I saw him, knew he was dead, and dismissed it all as a case of mistaken identity. I thought nothing else of it and continued on to work. Once I made it to work, I dove right in, sipping my morning coffee. My wife calls me and says, "I think I'm hallucinating." I was slightly concerned because she'd just had blood work done, and then she explained to me that she has just seen our dead neighbor, in the exact same place that he always was in the morning and exactly how I saw him. What's crazy is that I've just started reading into this sub and felt truly connected to the idea of switching across dimensions. I never spoke about this with my wife, because I was a bit embarrassed to explain such an out-there concept. She literally said to me that she thinks we switched dimensions. I feel like this is something she would never say, but I guess I also thought I would never see my dead neighbor sitting on the side of the road. We literally saw this guy's funeral, and multiple posts on social media mourning his death. He had somewhat of a neighborhood legacy, yet nothing now. It's all nowhere to be found. Has anyone experienced something similar? So, here is my experience, and I started doubting that I'm shifting universes because of it. I had a girlfriend for 1 year and it's been great. Her family was nice to me, and my time with her has been more amazing throughout the year. I met her when I was on a really high vibration, and even though her relationship with her family was problematic since the beginnings of the relationship, it didn't have an effect on us. Suddenly, things started glitching, and my energy started to drop when I got pulled into the negativities they created with her, and the stories of them not liking me out of nowhere, and it kept my head spiraling out of control. My mind got cornered in a very bad place of fear and doubt. I noticed that my once very sweet and loving girlfriend started changing into this manipulative, opportunistic, and selfish person as well. I noticed the bad behavior and doubted that I was trapped in a narcissistic family dynamic, and decided to leave her immediately. She didn't even try to talk to me, which is so unlike her. Suddenly, all my memories of us started feeling like it was unreal and made up by my perception. I didn't think of parallel shifting possibilities until then, and I accepted that I was just manipulated. If so, I think she's a really skilled actress. I started going to therapy and focusing on myself. After a few days of the breakup, I broke my ankle and stayed at home in a cast. Today, I called a long-distance friend of mine who was a very solid character in my life for over 10 years, who had been supportive and loyal and a good listener. I considered him almost a mentor because of his wisdom and unique way of looking at life. He was saying the most immature and ignorant stuff all of a sudden, out of nowhere today. He was very disrespectful and dismissive. I've been noticing that he was changing and becoming more distant over some time, but this person who spoke to me on the phone, I don't know him. So suddenly, over a very short course of time, I lost my beautiful girlfriend and left with this ugly version, and my best friend is also this really crappy version. Did I shift reality, or was the veil of BS lifted from my eyes? I really don't know these people. Also, a very distant friend from the past had suddenly connected with me, and we speak every day now. He lives in London and he convinced me to move there, and things are getting really fast-tracked into this direction. I have no idea what's going on. The OP did add an update. I shifted. It was very tough because it's a big shift. I keep reuniting with people from the past, people who knew me before I grew to the person that I am, and they are showing me that I matter to them and that they value me. And fake people are falling one after another like they never existed. New energy is present, the energy of love and of truth. This story starts out in the very early 1990s. The story takes place in Northeast Ohio. I wish I could tell you exactly what high school this occurred at, but if I did, I would never hear the end of it from people who know me. While in high school, I vividly remember a girl by the name of Carrie Keith. Carrie Keith was a short, blonde-haired, skinny girl who was always very nice to me. Nothing serious ever happened between Carrie Keith and myself. It's just Carrie Keith always treated me with kindness at a time when some other students were bullying me. I also remember some other memories of her. Not only did she live down the street at the end of the block that I lived on, but Carrie and myself were in the same class together. I also remember Carrie getting into a fight with another girl who accused her of flirting with her boyfriend. She denied it, of course, but the other girl didn't believe her and a fight ensued. Needless to say, Carrie won that fight. I also remember in home ed class, we were learning how sewing machines work. Don't ask me how, but Carrie Keith managed to get her thumb right under the sewing needle when it was in motion. She screamed the loudest F-bomb I ever heard when that happened. I have all these memories of her. After high school, I lost touch with Carrie, and I never saw her again. About a year, perhaps 2 years ago, The memories of Carrie Keith came back into my mind. I was wondering what happened to Carrie all these years. I tried to look her up on Facebook, but nothing showed up. I looked on Instagram and Twitter, but nothing showed up. Then I started asking old friends from high school about her, and that is when my search took a wild, crazy turn. Every single friend from high school that should have known her looked at me with a puzzled look and asked me what I was talking about. They told me that there was no such girl in high school named Carrie Keith. I even asked a friend named Janet, who I remember being in the same class as Carrie and myself, about Carrie Keith. She didn't know who I was talking about. Why am I the only one who remembers this Carrie Keith? The memory of her is so vivid. Did I cross over into a parallel universe in which this Carrie doesn't exist? My memories of her are vivid and clear. One other thing about this that has me asking more questions: in 1987 through 1991, those were my high school years, I remember everything I did during those years and what transpired. All but the summer of 1990. The summer of 1990 is a blank. I can't remember anything I did during the summer of 1990, while the other summers are very vivid in my memory. Why can't I remember anything about that specific summer? It's like a memory block was put up and nothing makes sense about it. I'm the only one who remembers Carrie Keith. I wonder if parallel universes have anything to do with this. Am I living in a parallel universe in which Carrie doesn't exist? And what happened to me during the summer of 1990 that a block in my memory prevents me from recalling that specific summer? I may never know. This story may not be as creepy or as exciting as many of the other stories on here, but it has had my head spinning for days now. Recently, my brother got me into a new anime called Demon Slayer, and I really ended up liking it. My wife and I recently finished the Mugen Train arc, which introduced my new favorite character, Ren Goku, who is the Flame Hashira. I won't spoil anything, that's not what this is about. What really has my head spinning is that when we watched it, his name was not Rengoku, it was Sengoku. Usually I'd write this off as a mishearing his actual name, but no. I remember it clear as day, in Tanjiro's voice, and the voice of all the other characters referring to him as Sengoku. And we were watching the English dub version, so there's no way any sort of foreign translation flew over my head. I even remember looking up replicas of his sword because I was excited to buy one from a vendor that makes battle-ready anime swords, and it's even there in my search history. As I'm writing this, I see that there is a character in the One Piece anime named Sengoku. But the thing is, I've only seen the first 3 episodes of that anime, and that character was never introduced. I don't have anything against One Piece, it's just a long anime with too many episodes. I'll probably never catch up. Not to mention, Sengoku is a real Japanese name as well. I'm getting a little off track, so I apologize. Nothing else in the Demon Slayer story is different, as far as I'm aware. I haven't gone back to rewatch every episode. I want to ask my wife, but I'm afraid that she'll put me in the crazy people house, so I keep it to myself for now. Am I currently in a different reality? Maybe I was just in a different one periodically, just to watch an arc of Demon Slayer? It doesn't scare me in any way. If anything, it amazes me. But to think that I could be the only one right now that heard a name in a popular anime where the name of the character is one consonant different from what everyone else currently knows. Before we begin, thank you for the existence of this sub. As you can see, I just created an account, and I must admit that I never had a particular attraction for the site, but after telling my story to my best friend, he encouraged me to tell my story here. Hoping that doesn't seem weird as possible, and maybe some of you can help me see it more clearly. I'm going to keep my real name anonymous, so you can call me, let's say, Jared. I'm 20 years old, and I'm from the west of France. I grew up as an only child in a happy family, where I never lacked for anything. It was made up of my father, my mother, and my maternal grandparents, who are like my second parents, or so close. I had a fulfilling childhood and adolescence without any major problems or various traumas. I am therefore, at least in my opinion, not predisposed to dementia or fabrication. However, there is a reason why I call this story Special Memories. Indeed, since I was very little and until very recently, until I was 17 or 18, let's say, I sometimes remember things that no member of my family has the slightest memory of. And this, even when I remember having experienced these moments with the people concerned. These range from very simple anecdotes from my childhood, like remembering that someone finished the bottle of soda when everyone told me it wasn't them, to perfectly remembering that one day my mother had argued with me about absolutely getting my Netflix access, around the age of 15. Even today, my mother assures me that she never did that, or even having a huge feeling of deja vu on events that have just happened, but the memory of which seems to be much older. I often have the impression of being outside my body and telling myself that I'm living a life that I have already lived. I don't know if I phrased that well. And I often tell myself that I'm in a sort of eternal beginning, as many people believing in the theory of perpetual reincarnation can sometimes put it. I was able to talk to a psychologist about it monthly between the ages of 18 and 19, but she found nothing abnormal about me. After talking to my best friend about this, he encouraged me to share my story here and interact with the community. I dreamed of being in a supermarket sitting on the floor next to this boy named Richard. He was platinum blonde as if he were albino and had blue eyes, but sometimes they were green. He told me, "You're back. Things have changed here. Now, you have to stay silent." He covered my mouth with his hand because I was asking for explanations, and suddenly I saw this woman opening the door wide. Her clothes were torn and dirty, and she was looking for something. It was as if she were blind. She tried to hear walking noises and smelling all the time. She looked like a zombie. I don't know what happens next, but Richard put his forehead against mine and whispered, "Don't worry, I'll come get you. I promise." He was taking deep breaths. I can still hear those breaths in my head. He ran away and I saw black. Suddenly, I found myself running. Behind me, there were two women chasing me. As I ran, I held on to my phone and the pendant because it makes noise. Then darkness again. I was motionless against the wall of a room, covered with old red and black carpets and red wallpaper with gold decorations. The furniture was dark wood and old. There was a woman with me in the room, and she was looking for me. She was trying to pick up every sound that I made and sniffing. I got annoyed and told her, "Stop looking for me. You know I'm here anyway, just let me go." I don't remember what she said, but a child entered the room and I tried to escape by walking fast and holding my phone pendant still. I went down the stairs. Everything around me was gray and looked like a factory. I heard someone running behind me when suddenly Richard reappeared in front of me. He took my hand and led me into a ventilation shaft. He hugged me tight and said, "See, I came to get you." While he looked at me. It was too real. I can't forget his face, and what he told me also shocked me. I've never seen this person in my life. So, what do you think? Hey everyone. I'm new here, so please be kind. This happened in 2010. I was in primary school, in my first ICT class. Our teacher was a white male, maybe 50 years old or less, kind of short, 5'7", and chubby. I remember him being calm and kind. His initials were NDA. I'm not saying his name for security reasons. I can vaguely remember his personality, and I think he had blue eyes. This is important. I don't know or remember what happened to him, but the next year he was no longer our teacher. I continued going to the same school. It has primary plus high school, and here starts all the weird things. It's 2017, I was in high school, and it's our first ICT class that year. The teacher presented himself as NDA. I couldn't believe my eyes. He was the same teacher we had in 2010, same exact name, but he was a completely different person. Where was the short, chubby, blue-eyed man? The imposter was very tall, so skinny that his shirt and pants were too big for him. He had a gangly appearance and a strange accent. Now, NDA could have lost some weight, but this is a whole different person. No blue eyes, he grew over 5 inches, and also his personality was different, a bit unpleasant. I asked my mates, but no one remembered the 2010 NDA. The majority of them were new at the school, and my old friends from primary school had no memories about him, considering we were 6 to 7 years old. I searched NDA on Facebook and I found his page. He has old photos, but none of them look like the NDA that I remember. I don't know what the hell happened. If this is my mind playing some weird trick, or what. Maybe it's a Mandela effect or some crap like that. Please, tell me if you have experienced something like this. Sometimes, I would wake myself up during the night realizing that I had stopped breathing. I thought this was something normal, not realizing that it was sleep apnea. This one particular night, I realized that I wasn't breathing and awakened looking at my curtains, which had little red cherries in a leaf pattern. Then I looked again and the red cherries were gone. There was only the leaf pattern. My immediate thought was that I had actually died, and my consciousness had shifted to a parallel world with another version of me. I went back to sleep, and when I awoke, I realized that this was not a dream. Over the next few days, I noticed different changes in this new reality. What really shocked me was that the geography on a globe I was looking at was different in many ways. The more I researched this, I found out that it was being referred to as what people call the Mandela effect. There were so many things different than what I remembered. I know that this is not my home planet, but a parallel world. I'm beginning to believe that I may be one of the millions, and that maybe there was a disaster on my home world. That explains why so many people notice all these changes. I've studied things like quantum physics and superposition, of course, parallel worlds, to try and understand this. The fact of the matter is that this did happen. A version of me died that night, and I shifted, or rather my consciousness shifted, to this reality. So that, my friend, was a collection of parallel universe stories a subset of glitch stories where it's not just object disappeared, object comes back, or thing happens but didn't happen, question mark. Huh, I should have noted what I was going to say there on that one, because I don't remember what I was going to say. My point is, these are basically a subset, in my opinion, of glitch stories where the situation is currently something, but it's either remembered as something else by the original poster or author, or it's something else now and it was remembered as what it was. It's really hard to, like, think of what I was trying to say there. I hope you guys get my point. I think you do. You've been around long enough to understand what I meant. And if you haven't been around long enough, well, that's totally okay, too. Hi, how are you? I don't know. I just hope you all enjoyed the stories. If you did, please do hit that like button on the video. That does help tremendously. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed what you heard, please consider hitting that subscribe button and then maybe the bell icon next to it to get notified of everything that I do. And if you are feeling ever so bold, go down below the video, leave me a comment with how you're doing, which story you enjoyed the most, which you enjoyed the least, your thoughts. And if you can't think of something to comment, pick a number between 1 and 10. Just a random number between 1 and 10. Make it a whole number. No floats. No segment of numbers. Just whole numbers. Just in the comments put, I pick number. I won't be able to guess what number you picked if you type it, because you'll be typing it. No, I guess I could respond and be like, I guess you picked 4, and after you type 4. Of course, knowing me, I would say, I guess you picked 5, and you type a 4, and then I'd be like, you typed 4, and then I said 5. Because I got the big dumb sometimes. Anyways, hopefully you all enjoyed the stories. Like I said, subscribe, comment, like. If you would like to do so, you can also join the Patreon or membership to get early access to content like this and other content and other stuff. You can also do a super thanks, which is a tip to the channel. The podcast is available on all platforms that you can think of. Maybe not all platforms you can think of, but most platforms you can think of. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the likes of that, Pandora, Audible, etc., etc. And I think you can actually listen to the podcast ad-free on Amazon if you're a Prime member. So I think that's a thing. I feel like they notified me I could do that, and then I deleted the email because I don't listen to podcasts on Amazon. But if you do, just FYI. All that said, friends, hope you're having a beautiful day. Hope I see you again here very soon. But until then, remember, you are loved, you are valid, you are important, you're the best you that you can be. I hope you never forget it, and I don't want you to let anyone tell you otherwise, is what I meant to say. And, of course, until next time, my friends, much love, and sleep well.